Welcome back, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here with Larry Sprinkle. And Larry, you've been here a long time, and I always tell people the one benchmark for weather in this city is Hurricane Hugo. You were actually on the air for Hugo. Tell everybody who wasn't here but has heard the stories what it was like covering that storm in Charlotte.
Well, it's amazing because we'd never have a hurricane come this far inland. And watching what was going on in Charleston, South Carolina, thinking that hurricane's going to take more of a move inland. Yeah. It did. And so we were prepared to be on the air, and we're on the air at the time. So it was early in the morning, maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock. We started getting reports of Shaw Air Force Base getting winds at 90 miles an hour. And then, I'm on the air describing the situation. And I've said, we've had wind gusts here of about 80, 85 miles an hour. And off to my left, I was facing the camera this way. I could hear a noise. I could hear this explosion in the studio. Looked over, and the ceiling caved in.
Holy cow.
So what happened was a power line at the top of the tower next to the building that snapped, hit the roof, and came through the ceiling. So I'm on the air trying to describe it. And I know we have a little bit of tape on it, but what you don't see is when I say back to the news anchor, okay, back to you, Rick. And Rick goes, Larry?
You're like hunting for cover.
We'll get back to Larry. So, it was crazy to have the hurricane come this far inland. And actually hit the studio at the same time.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing because I think now in 2024, most inland communities take hurricanes pretty seriously. And Charlotte for sure because of that storm. But I think what's fascinating, talk about what people's mentality about hurricanes in Charlotte was before Hugo hit. Did they even worry about them? Did they even talk about it?
Never. I mean, we covered hurricanes, obviously. And, if you think of the legendary hurricanes that affected the Carolinas, you go back to Hurricane Hazel way back in the day. And, people had coastal connections, but they would never ever affect us. I mean, we the spin-up tornadoes that we talk about now. No one even thought about that. So when you heard about hurricanes, it was, it's the beach. It's Wrightsville Beach, it's Myrtle Beach. Never here. So the people are just naive to that.
Yeah, and what's fascinating nowadays, we have inland hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings. And part of that reason is because we got to warn people inland. And the thing that I think people need to take home with the Hurricane Hugo stuff is that it wasn't just rain and tornadoes, like you said. There were hurricane force winds over Charlotte for an extended period of time. And one of the things you still see to this day is the tree damage, Larry. Talk about the trees during that.
We saw, I remember being kind of trapped at the station. You could not drive anywhere because thousands of trees were down in the Charlotte area. And you talk about what people's impact here was. No, it wasn't a big rain event. It was wind because we had hurricane force winds in Charlotte. Did so much tree damage. I'll have to say we can be thankful that there was not a major loss of life. There was one death from this, but the damage. There were people without power I was out without power for 2 weeks, up to 6 weeks with no power because the trees went down on the power lines. I mean, you were trapped literally sometimes in neighborhoods and couldn't get out. So people got to know their neighbors back in those days. And with no power, that means everything in the refrigerator was going to go bad. So people were cooking out for days. It was something that this area had never seen before, and certainly shocked to people's lives. And I think once Hugo hit, people started paying more and more attention, and obviously today, we inform people way ahead of time that we could get effects from hurricanes.
And the power outages to this day is one of the biggest outages in Duke's system until the ice storm in 2002.
That's right, exactly.
But the tree damage was so extensive that I know a lot of tree companies actually got their start during that. I remember doing a story about that, and some of them started during Hugo because there was so much work to be done. And Hugo, the name Hugo, has staying power with us, right? We've got a mascot for the Hornets named after Hugo, right?
At that time,
tell the story about this. This is interesting.
He was introduced at that time because we just got the Charlotte Hornets, and so it unfortunately coincided with this devastating hurricane.
I know.
So even I think people understood, but it was just ironic that here's this brand new NBA basketball team, brand new mascot Hugo, and then here comes this devastating hurricane that just pours into the area.
And even though that storm was probably the biggest in our city's history, we always tell people, every storm we get, people ask, is it another Hugo? The thing I will tell you, and I say this to everybody, every storm is different. There will never be another Hugo. There will be storms that could be worse than Hugo or not as bad as Hugo. So it's always important to take every storm seriously, and every storm treat it differently, Larry. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It was crazy times, and you know, that's why we're in this building we're in now, because that building was almost demolished.
Yeah. For WCNC, that storm has a huge impact on this station's legacy.
Yeah. Thank you.